Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kaiserreich. We are playing as the Patagonian Workers' Front. We are playing some content for Kaiserreich that feels very old school, which is to say it's a little more, a little more on the unrealistic side and a little more on the fun side versus the realistic but sort of like restrained side. We're playing as Southern Argentina, Patagonian Workers' Front. We currently have no manpower or guns. We have neither of those things. We have to get both of them. I am going to, first though, read out the lore. The Revolutionary Fires. Argentina was in a state of chaos during the Weltkrieg, with British companies exploiting its people and resources to get everything they could for the war. This led to unrest throughout the nation, but especially in the south of the country, in Patagonia. Extremely poor working conditions brought the rise of socialism and syndicalism, with thousands of people refusing to work and rioting through the streets. The British forced the Argentinian government to intervene, turning riots into rebellion during the events that led to the Semana Tragica. The situation only escalated further and further from there, with the LP growing in strength in the main cities, particularly with the Buenos Aires city oligarchy. However, deep in the south of Argentina, a new type of unrest grew. What started as a simple strike of rural workers became a general strike in the south, demanding for the payment of wages that had been due for months and the improvement of working conditions. While an agreement was reached at first with the creation of the first rural agreement of Patagonia, when the landowners didn't keep their promises, the workers started another general strike, forcing armed retaliation by an expedition led by Lieutenant Colonel Hector Bengino Valera. The workers, Varela. Varela. Trusting Varela, after he helped create the first agreement, would try to negotiate with the officer, only met with the realization. Varela, Varela, with their demand nothing more than unconditional surrender to strikers, willing to shoot all who opposed to keep control of the Patagonia. The workers rallied behind the figure of Antonio Soto and Jose Fason Grande Font, decided the time for revolution was now. Despite the disarmament clause in the original oral agreement, most of Soto's anarchists had left their weapons to Alfredo El Toscano Fonte. After he and many more other radical anarchists refused the agreement, and so Soto found himself having to ally with the Patagonian bandit in order to get the equipment to arm the workers to fight. After the initial victories, the army of the workers dealt a decisive victory at La Antina Farm, with the coordination of the FORA, Telegraph Alliance, and Coordination Runners. The second great Patagonic strike only grew and grew in strength. The Argentine army, unable to deal with it, was sparking heavy political backlash in the capital for the popular URC in power. Many years later, the fires of revolution continue to burn in Patagonia. Chile has had to step in and protect the FOP from the north, and so hoards much sway in how the nation is run. Antonio Soto, leader of FORA, and one of the major participants in the revolution, has led the nation ever since, leading a loose and fragile coalition of anarchist communists and radical socialists. Due to political instability, proper elections have not been held. However, Soto has promised to step down from his position once the crisis with Argentina ends, whatever the results may be. There are worries that the election won't take place in time, for due to the rise of Carres in the north, people fear that the invasion will happen soon. However, with the Patagonic strike being seen as a beacon of anarchism socialism by many, international support by both the International and willing anarchists and exiled Bolshevik alike is not in for short supply, so that workers may appear to be stranded in such an apparently desolate wasteland as Patagonia may still stand a chance. Boom. We have 6 divisions. Behold. This guy who looks kind of like Elon Musk. Behold. Look at that. I spent money on the DLC for some reason. The DLC that has a, quote, very negative review on Steam. I dropped $20 on it because I'm a fool. And I don't know. Let's see. So we got, look at all these guys. Nestor Makhno, Alexander Yegorov, Mikhail Frunz. I don't know how to pronounce that. We got all these guys. Look at these guys. Anyways, I'll put Mr. Nestor Makhno in charge. On the literally complete other side of the world from everything else. Alright, what are we doing first? It's the revolutionary fires. Despite the attempts of the Argentinian government to quell the flames of revolution, our movement is still alive and growing stronger by the day. While our victory is far from certain, we must start preparing for the final showdown against the reactionaries in the north. All national spirits and off-map factories that are added by focuses in the street are removed upon winning the conflict against Argentina. So, you probably want to get not off-map stuff if we're going to get stuff. That being said, beggars can't really be choosers. In terms of factories, we have no factories. And maybe slap down a front line here. I'm not going to bother to hold this tile because it doesn't get supplied properly. My plan, such as it is to try to, sort of see what I can do. Try to crack the line, probably to grab Bahia Blanca, then Mar del Plata, then La Plata, then Buenos Aires. Like, usually I've found that when I fought in Argentina, swinging up the Argentine coast near up to Buenos Aires is the correct play. And then from there, I can just kind of push to Rosario. That seems correct. We have technologies. These do not supply anything immediately. So we maybe are going to ignore that. Alright. Do we want... I don't know. Interwar artillery? I don't know. I feel like production stuff's probably not worth it. Let's just get let's just get better. Oh, but we do have a convoy. Let's make a convoy. Look at that. Alright, so we are really gonna try to get manpower. Defeat Argentina. We want to do that. Alright, speeding it up. Victor Chernov assassinated. How barbaric! I'm not going to read out those worldwide events. The Totalist Charter. Let's hope the people reject this madness. Eddie VIII, King of Great Britain. Interesting. My favorite filler word to use is interesting. We're talking about these Kaiserreich events. Whoa. Several things happened. First, the 5th Anglo-Afghan War. Second, Black Monday. Marx predicted this day. Who cares about Afghanistan? Not us. Probably gonna speed up again. Capitalist economies collapse. Over the past few days, the workers and peasants of the world have watched as the bankers, capitalists, and tyrants scrabble to reap the benefits of the workers' labor for their own selfish gain. Scrabble to reap the benefits of the workers' labor for their own selfish gain. They call it Black Monday. A terrible event, they say. They say such a collapse was completely uncalled for, something no economist could have predicted. Of course, the workers are no fools. The people see through their lies. As the great philosopher Karl Marx predicted, such collapses are an inevitable result of capitalism. As capitalists abuses and reaps the benefits of the workers, they begin to eat themselves alive like rabid dogs. All this as they leave their workers to struggle and die by the wayside as they scramble for the last piece of meat. Our nation, however, has decoupled itself from the capitalist world and thus began the construction of a true people state. Therefore remain unaffected, and can only watch as the nations of the world are eaten alive by their capitalist overlords. This is a great awakening for the peasants and the workers of the world, and soon the workers of these nations will begin to organize against their oppressors. We must stand by and stand tall as a true example for the workers of the world. Workers of the world, unite! Jacobins elected in France. Uh-oh. What happened in India? I assume nothing? Excellent. Literally nothing. Love to see it. How are we on the train department? We have 15. We're fine. We don't need more trains. Illusion of Qing hegemony shatters. The end of an era. Cao and Wu back Nanjing. The German order in Asia may still hold. The revolutionary fires. Alright, so, given the situation, we have no manpower. Ideally, we want to like boost our economy as soon as possible. Specifically, we want to produce military factories. Getting a free civilian factory is kind of nice. We really, really need like mans and guns. So let's focus on getting mans and guns. Anyways, good luck. Left cam T, I don't have the resources to help you. Okay. The Hannifford idea. The Hannifford idea. Guillermo Hannifford, an ex-army major of the Argentinian military, has been condemned to a lifetime in prison for seemingly betraying the reactionary Argentinian military and leaking official documents to Paraguay and Chile. Lucky for us, insiders in the Argentinian military have indicated he'll be transported to the Prison Regional de Sur, a high-security prison in the territory of Neuquén, which conveniently sits less than a few hundred kilometers from our border. Unexpectedly, many of the different factions of our military have jumped at the chance of presenting plans to recover this would-be revolutionary from the reactionary grasp. While some of them are insanely optimistic, the ones that have stood out the most are proposals by Buenaventura Durruti's Avengers, which suggest utilizing a militia attack as a distraction in the Viedma area as a diversion for a full-scale breakthrough in the prison. In stark opposition to this plan, Comrade Joseph Stalin, in his experience, has suggested to pick a smaller team to infiltrate the area with a couple of columns on standby to assist in case the situation escalates and instead rescue the officer. The last proposal to be seriously considered, thrown in by Marc Algier, is to simply send a column in the prison's general direction and let the officers in charge deal with whatever challenges lie ahead. Each plan carries its own risk. For us, unfortunately, while Durruti and Stalin's experience as bank robbers and terrorists in Spain and Russia give them some pedigree in this kind of covert operations, they're not denying we can't exactly commit all the resources to the activists. Well, in contrast, while Algier's plan is less reliable on paper, the column may just collapse and scatter, certainly helping us commit fewer assets to what's essentially a non-priority target. What should the Revolutionary Committee favor? We can give Durruti what he asks. Comrade Stalin will have our resources. Go through with Algier's plan, and this is a waste of time. Comrade Stalin will have our resources. Modify Officer Corps. Army HQ templates. Oh my gosh. I have no idea how this works now. Wonderful. This is not intuitive at all. Nope. Nope. Huh. Forward air control. This is a cool thing that they added. It's a man with a gun. Look at that. I don't care. But invasion defense, forward damage. Special forces are better. That could be strong. Enables defense in depth. I don't know how that works. Motorized HQ security, infantry HQ security. Huh. No idea how this works. Anyways, we're not saving that. Deployed Army HQs, captured commanders. That's a thing now. Military High Command. We got Joe. We got Yegorov. I feel as though this really hasn't changed the situation. I still think that bold attack is the ideal option. Division experience gain is not bad, but more attack, more good is what I've seen. The Anshin clique has been defeated. The left KMT has declared war on Shandong. Modify Officer Corps. There's a button I can press. Right. Chief of Air Force. Yeah, I'll use all the planes that I have. Hannifford rescued! Our mission was a great success, with us successfully getting Hannifford out of prison alive, as well as most of his troops. Our troops ran circles around the Argentinian garrison. It's not only a military success, but a moral victory as well. If we keep this up, there may actually be a chance for a revolution to succeed. Excellent. Boop. Military seizes power in Mexico. Mexican democracy died as it lived. Mosley is chairman of the TUC. Okay? Pope's dead. R.I.P. Gallo seizes control of Ecuador. Seems that Quito's liberalism just couldn't last. Pius XII elected as new pope. A useless man elected by useless men. Wow. Rude. Ninth International Congress. An interesting development. No, it's not. All right. Population surveys. Request support from native population. From the native populations. In our desperate search for manpower, we've largely ignored a large source of manpower. The native people of Patagonia. With many native groups find themselves alienated from the workers' movement, again, general alienation from Argentine society, perhaps we can still draw some common ground against the government that's been disfavoring them for the last half of the century, and maybe we could recruit their help as long as we promise to grant them some much-needed autonomy once we're victorious. Start consulting with their organizations and promise the Mapuche autonomy. Doesn't cost us too much. I feel like we probably want more people immediately and more guns immediately, and then maybe we transition to some other options. All right, we're gonna rally the workers. I don't know, do we want to go calls for Chilean volunteers, call for European manpower, because that might be more efficient? Let's call for Chilean volunteers. Many of our comrades across the Andes are eager to spread the revolution and fight for their country, but aren't able to enlist and fight in the Chilean army. We need to get the message to as many of them as possible. There's a ration, a rifle, an opportunity to spread the revolution on our side of the border. Army HQ. Close. On front line. Medium. Far. Free control. If I had them on the front line. Deploying an Army HQ. Probably should... Okay, I guess it's just auto-deploying close. There's a guy. Third International! France has gone through with its designs to hold the 9th Congress of the Third International, and we, as expected, have received an invitation. Be foolish not to send a delegation. Better start packing. Whoa! The SCDDLA pledges its support. The Sociedad Caposalion Defensora de la Araucanía, a political organization made up by the Mapuche people and based in the Argentine-Chilean border, has agreed to send support for our cause. While we expect them to present a list of conditions, they've merely stated that they will set their demands once we're in a position to fulfill them. Whether that means they expect much or nothing at all from us remains to be seen. Their support is greatly appreciated. All the delegates have arrived after months of previous preparation. The 9th Congress of the Third International has opened in Versailles. People from all over the world have convened to help coordinate the efforts of the syndicalist movement. Parties affiliated with the International, as well as some sympathizers and observers, were invited to send representatives on harms made the sometimes arduous journey to be closest to the beating heart of the proletarian revolution. Though the International, in theory, has no relation to the French and British governments, representatives from the foremost socialist nations will certainly enjoy a position of informal seniority among their peers, elders, and global liberation of the laboring class. A warm welcome to our comrades. How does this work? I guess I could move here. Inaugurating the Congress. The inaugural session of the 9th Congress of the Third International took place in the Versailles Palace. Clad, for the occasion, the crimson banners adorned with social symbols and slogans. Given the honor of introducing the introductory speech, father of the British Revolution, George Lansbury pointed out the irony of convening proletarian forces, which in what was the center of the autocratic monarchy, proof, if any was needed, of the unstoppable march forward of the revolution. A grand speech followed, thanking the delegates, evoking revolutionary successes of recent years and rousing spirits for the coming struggle. In his closing remarks, Lansbury invited delegates to join him in a minute of prayer, to which a French voice promptly responded, "Like hell we will!" Leading to full moments of agitation from the audience. The old man was nevertheless abundantly applauded, and the representatives separated into various secession groups and committees. The 9th Congress of the Third International is hereby opened. Syndicalism in Spain. Joaquin Ascaso Budria has taken the stage and elaborated the position of the CDN-FAI in Spain for Congress. The CDN-FAI is the largest syndicalist party in Spain, made up of anarcho-syndicalists, monoclist syndicalists, and trade unionists. The Spanish revolutionaries have seen a white terror, violent counter-revolutionary actions against the workers firsthand. They've come asking for support for their cause when the moment comes. Our resolution to support the efforts of the Spanish proletarian forces was unanimously voted, with cries of Viva la Revolucion echoing the halls of Versailles, and our Iberian comrades can count on us. No, they can't. We're kind of busy, but still, I wish them good luck. Not how it works, right? Anyways. In the heart of Capital 2, the American delegate John Reed gave a passionate speech. A journalist by trade, one of the first Americans reporting the Russian and French revolutions, he later entered the political fray himself. Now a well-respected voice in the movement, Reed is the current chairman of the Socialist Party of America. Despite criticism at home and abroad regarding his party coalition with the reformist Farmer Labor Party, it's hard to argue against the SPA's growing popularity over the past decade and its ability to mobilize American workers. Fellow delegates were restrained from voicing their concerns if they had to, and Reed was given a warm welcome by Congress. In his speech, he detailed the current situation in the United States, the Great Depression, now dragging on for years, has thrown American workers and farmers into atrocious conditions, leading to a rapid rise in radical politics, made worse by the German crash. The labor movement grows ever more powerful. The SBA is rapidly gaining ground in political institutions. Proletarian forces are holding strong against police repression and longest reactionaries. An opportunity seems bound to reveal itself. The red flag will fly on Wall Street. We probably can just not do that. Hopes in Latin America. That's us. A joint event by Latin American comrades was next. South and Central America have in recent years been at the forefront of the socialist struggle. Primary victims of American interests. Exploited ceaselessly by international capital, held down by petty dictators, puppet of this or that Yankee lobby. The mass of Americas have had enough. Every day, more workers join the struggle of the front line of imperialism. And if we're to believe our comrades, the entire continent is one push away from liberation. A packed audience listened eagerly to tales of Patagonian revolutionaries. Hey, it's up. That's us. Latest updates from the still fresh Nicaraguan Revolution, or stories of the veterans of the Mexican Revolution, which inspired the whole of Latin America. Delegates from other nations, like Brazil or Cuba, gave detailed presentations of the state of the proletarian struggle in their own countries, with many feeling very optimistic for their prospects in the coming years. Begin to nurture syndicalism in Latin America. Kurt von Schleicher appointed Reichschancellor. Another Juncker serving the Kaiser. Okay. Women's role in worldwide revolution. Today, the British feminist Helen Crawford took a stage with a flaming speech about women's role in the world revolution. According to her arguments, without women's participation, industry and armed forces would be impossible to defeat the many enemies of the proletariat. While our delegation agrees wholeheartedly with their message, some fear it is too early to really push the issue of women's liberation, and formally affirming the speech is but a needed domestic disturbance. Participation of working women is necessary to achieve the world revolution. We need that political power so we can get better guys. Comrade Saïl Mohammed wants to speak. Comrade Saïl Mohammed, a prominent Algerian socialist, was allowed to speak before the assembled Congress. He had given a rousing speech on the situation in Morocco and French Africa, where Arab labor is abused and exploited for the benefit of the wealthy and colonial establishment. Saïl urged the Congress to put an immediate stop to the situation. He proposed the creation of a socialist anti-colonial committee that will work to supply local socialist anti-colonial conspirators in North Africa. Will gladly support the creation of the committee. Shandong Click has capitulated. We should get ideological loyalty, because it gives us 500 manpower per week, which will permanently solve our manpower shortage. We should probably get basic machine tools, because we're going to start using those recently. White Terror! We've heard Joaquin Ascaso Barrida speak of the White Terror horror stories that have been coming out of Madrid and Barcelona, and Kurt Eisner, a Bavarian socialist, wanted to delve deeper into the topic of the White Terror as he was given the floor. After hearing more stories that come out of Germany, Austria, and Hungary, and Finland, the Congress members were ready to make their decisions. Another reason is end the capitalist system of murder and robbery. The world economic crisis and the Third Internationale. With the Berlin stock market crash, mass unemployment has arisen in Europe and South America, and trade unions begin to grow as a result. French and British governments held highly secretive talks, and slowly, but surely, one realization came to all. Now might be the hour. Now might be the moment. A tremendous effort must be undertaken. However, what exactly this tremendous effort would be proved controversial. And when the Congress finally reassembled for a voting session, debates lasted well into the night, with positions ranging from issuing mere condemnation to calls for immediate armed struggle. Ultimately, it was decided a framework for deeper international collaboration was to be established. Oh, excuse me. Under the auspices of the Third Internationale and socialist great powers. help towards the development of socialist economies, greater economic integration, research and development programs, as well as permanent international cooperation councils would help the world's free nations act as one to prepare for the final struggle. Simultaneously, initiatives to more concretely support socialist efforts in capitalist nations would be undertaken both openly and covertly. Naturally, details would be left for governments to fill in, but the proposal was approved almost unanimously. Only one thing was left to vote on: the name of this initiative. A French delegate proposed the Phalanastir, an homage to the harmonious and self-sustaining communities established by utopian socialist Charles Fourier, a proposal which proved instantly popular. Building this international Phalanastir, the workers of the world will soon conquer the utopia they've earned, a decisive opportunity. End of the 9th Congress. The 9th Congress of the Third International has finally come to an end, rich in events and emotions, having reinforced once again the cohesion of the international socialist movement and set its course for the immediate future can only be called a success. The final vote of the delegates concerned the location of the next Congress. Many cities were proposed, ultimately decided to take place in London, the other great socialist capital. Many delegates came forward to deliver their final remarks and thank their comrades. When they came home, delegates will have to grapple with the consequences of one of the greatest events since the revolution, certainly, or opportunity for decisive action. Before that, a ceremony is organized to properly send them off. On Montmartre Hill, the birthplace of the 1871 Commune de Paris, a great performance to the public was given, showcasing the best French artists, regional costumes and traditions, with athletic feats and technological innovations. Followed by an immense banquet of dishes from all around the commune for the many delegates, which lasted well into the night. Of course, the guests concluded this experience in joyful socialist unity, the only way they could have, by proudly singing the Internationale. And tomorrow, the Internationale will be the human race. And tomorrow, I will see you for the next episode. Goodbye.